Hey guys, welcome to Episode 2 of the CFB Podcast. I'm sitting in my office here, just getting ready to head home for the day. But I want to take a moment to answer one of your questions that I get on a regular basis. I hope you find value in my answer. If you have a question that you want me to answer on this podcast, you can email them to me directly at zach@crossfitbangor.com, and hopefully I can get to them next time. Today's question is, how do I get my first pull-up or muscle-up? I get this one all the time, and I wish there was a quick fix to this problem. And I know these two movements are kind of far apart. It seems kind of weird to answer them in the same bout here, but I feel the answer applies to both. And frankly, I think a lot of people fall kind of on either side. Either they got their first pull-up and they're trying to get a chest to bar, or butterfly pull-ups, or a muscle-up, bar muscle-up, or ring, whatever. Or they're kind of still doing ring rows and German pull-ups and looking to get that first pull-up and want to know how to get there. Unfortunately, I don't know if you're going to really be too satisfied with my answer, and it's pretty typical, but it's just time and patience. And what you really can do is just keep showing up for classes. If you only come to like 3 times a week, then you need to make sure that one of those days is on the days we do some kind of pull-up, whether that's muscle-ups, chest to bars, pull-ups, whatever it may be. You want to make sure that one of the days that you come is one of those days. With gymnastics, to get better really is just a high-quality volume. Quality being first, volume being second. It's really no different than how you get a bigger squat, or in any of the lifts for that matter. With the squat, it's just moderate loads for a certain amount of sets and reps, and to continue to kind of increase loads over time. That linear progression that we talk about a lot with our percentage work that we do on the lifts. Where I feel most of us go wrong when we try to get better with gymnastics is like skipping steps, or even on the other end of things, we make movements too easy. So that would be compared to like if you were trying to get better at the snatch, for instance. You're not going to get better at the snatch by just maxing out every time you lift it, right? Failing half the time. Or on the other end, it would be like lifting just the empty bar. Both might work in the short term. If you max out, you're lifting maximal loads all the time. That might be good. Hey, see you guys. Or maybe with, see you, Candace. Maybe with that empty bar, you might be working on technique and stuff, and all that stuff might work. Both of those things might work for a little bit, but over time, if we're looking at long term, it's moderate loads, a certain amount of reps, and the same thing goes for gymnastics. So the trap gymnastics side is we kind of fall into this trap of skipping the boring stuff and going straight to the sexy. So what I mean by that is like focusing on our kipping pull-up or muscle-up, but we haven't even done 5 strict chin-ups yet. A lot of the times, like, we'll do class and we every time we're on the pull-up bar, what's the first thing we do? It's those scapula pull-ups, and we kind of take those for granted and rush right through them. But I think you'd get a lot more bang for your buck if you got really good at like hanging onto the bar and doing really good scapula pull-ups, working on your hollow positions. Think of like how hard hollow rocks are, working on those, working on your kip just in isolation without the pull-up, and then maybe working on strict movements or scaling options that are more strict, like the ring row or the bar row or stuff like that. And that's kind of goes right into my next tip, is just choose the right scaling options. Don't get stuck in the ring row trap where every time you do pull-ups you do ring rows. But if you're doing ring rows, because I think they're amazing, just make sure they're hard ring rows and you're progressing. So try to find somehow, maybe if it's just using the same rings every time, try to find a way to track that. So it's like doing squats. You do 5 squats at 100 pounds. You won't want to just keep doing 100 pounds every week over and over and over again. You try to do maybe 105 pounds and then 110 pounds. It's the same thing. If you're doing ring rows, maybe use 1 pair of rings, put your feet in a certain spot on the floor, try to remember that, write that down in the notes, and the next time you do ring rows, make them harder, okay? Or do more reps or whatever that may be. I think a lot of the times we're so focused on going fast in our workouts, which can be great, especially if that's the stimulus. But I feel like if we're focusing so much on going fast, we do all our sets unbroken, and they're really not that challenging. It's okay to get a slower time if we're trying to focus specifically on getting a pull-up or focusing on working on the pull-up. That's really one of your goals that you're really focusing on. Honestly, guys, if you're just looking for fitness and just to work out, pull-ups are great, and I think you shouldn't not have that goal, but I wouldn't get too wrapped up about it. That's really just such a small part of your fitness, but like I said at the beginning, the frustrating answer, but it's the truth, is just time and patience and continuing to work. And to really go macro with this question, it's good to remember that CrossFit, we're trying to get good at so many things, and it takes a long time to see progression on just one of those things that we're trying to get better at. And now, if you did a program that was only gymnastics, sure, you'd get a pull-up pretty quick because you're only focusing on gymnastics. But we're trying to get a broad, general, and inclusive fitness, and not to be specialized in one thing or another. So sure, yeah, if you're focusing on one thing and you get really good at that one thing, like squats. If you only did squats, sure, you might reach 200, 300, 400-pound squat, but your 2K row won't be any better. Your 5K run won't be any better. Your workouts, you're not gonna get a pull-up that way either. So we're trying to get better at a lot of things. So maybe taking some pressure off yourself on trying to get a certain number on your snatch or a certain pull-up, that might help. And to remember that the minute you get that pull-up, you're just going to want a chest-to-bar. And then when you get a chest-to-bar, you're just going to want a muscle-up. And then when you got a muscle-up, then you're just going to want 3 unbroken muscle-ups. And then once you got those, you just want more muscle-ups than Jimmy or whoever else in the gym that's got more muscle-ups than you. It's just never ending. So try to enjoy where you're at now, realizing that that's never going to change. You're always going to feel like you want a little bit more, but that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to want more, because that's the whole point. That's what keeps you coming in. The journey is what's fun. It's the building that's what's fun. It's not just that one time you get a pull-up. That moment is fleeting. It's just like winning anything, like winning the CrossFit Games. Yeah, Tia won the CrossFit Games. That moment was great. That was like 15 minutes, but the rest of the year was the training. So if you didn't like that, if you didn't like the training, you just wasted a whole year for 15 minutes, right? So, it's a little bit weird to compare what we do every day to that, but I think it's the same thing. I really do. Well, that's my answer for that one, guys. I hope I gave you some value, and please let me know if you have a question you want me to answer on the podcast, or have any of the other coaches answer here. You can send me an email, or just maybe comment on Instagram or anywhere that we post content. Until next time, guys, have a good one.